Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. For today I've prepared a special treat for you. At least I think it's a special treat. I've been asked quite a lot lately to paint a cherry blossom, and so I decided to do that for you and to give you one relaxing Sunday afternoon painting or just enjoy watching. And as you could have seen, this is the photo. This is not the photo, this is the painting we will be painting. And I've prepared also a sketch, so you can free download it from the link that is written down in the description box. So go ahead, download it, print it, trace it, and you're ready to go. When I finished with my sketch, I just slightly removed the excess graphite from my paper with a kneaded eraser, artist eraser, and after that I've used a masking marker to mask the edges of my flowers and the branch, and later on I'm pre-wetting the entire paper. Actually, I'm pre-wetting the lower part of the paper and just going around my flowers and branches, not in it, just around it. And with the burnt sienna, raw sienna, and later on a little bit of sepia, I will be painting the background. And I'm not trying to make one same wash, but I'm just going in all sides with my brush and just back and forth and round motions, horizontal motions, vertical motions. I really do want that background to appear, as you can see in a finished painting, I want it to appear as there is something going on in the background that is actually blurred. This is now me sprinkling some clean water, because you probably know that if you're not first time on my channel or watching my videos, well, you probably know that I just love sprinkling with clean water, and I love the effect that I get from it. So I use it, I could say, almost in any of my paintings. And so I've sprinkled the clean water, and after that I'm just painting the background on the upper part, on the top of my painting, in exactly the same way as in a lower part. And this time I've also used a little bit of cadmium yellow medium to sprinkle that you see in the right upper corner. And now I'm again sprinkling some clean water. And after that, I'm just going with a smaller brush and filling in the gaps where I see I haven't painted around my flowers and branches. And then again sprinkling some more clean water. You can also see, do you want it more or less, and if you want more that effect, you just add a little bit more sprinkles, and not just don't. And this is now Mother Lake Red Light. I'm also sprinkling it with some smaller brush, because, well, I do want to add that little bit of that color from my flowers, from my blossom, into my background. And when the paint completely dried, it has to be really, really dry and not wet at all, because if it's wet, you're gonna just ruin your painting. It has to be completely dry. I'm taking off the masking fluid, and first I used some classic eraser, and after that, of course, my fingers. And when I removed the masking fluid, I just noticed that there are some places where I've missed the painting the background, because the flowers aren't in all of those parts and just background is peeking through between the petals. So I'm just adding that, finishing that, and just here and there where I see I've missed the parts. And after that, I just pre-wetted the part where my lower flower is, and I'm just adding a little bit of Mother Lake Red Light. And as you can see, I've just painted almost the entire flower. That was not my intention. I just wanted to go one petal at a time, but you will see later on with that flower, that lower flower, I just had some issues with, and I just, well, it didn't go actually the way I wanted, but in the end it did turn out okay, but just not the way I've planned it. After that, I'm just painting my next flowers, and this one I've started with the middle. I've added quite amount of pigment in the middle, and after that I'm just moving that pigment upwards in my petals. and just on the sides of my petals, you can see on that right side of my petals, I'm adding a little bit more pigment and then just cleaning my brush, rinsing my brush, and well, smudging that paint. Right now I'm also picking up some paint because there is just, I've noticed that I have too much of it in my petals, and I do really want those petals to stay pretty light in some parts, so I've just picked up the paint with my brush. And that is actually the way I will be painting all those petals and all of my flowers. Mostly I will start in the middle, if not I will just pre-wet the petal that I'm gonna paint. I painted one part of the petal a little bit darker and then just rinsing my brush, smudging it into the other parts of my petal, just leaving one part quite bright. And as I said, that is actually the way I will be painting all of my petals. And right now I'm going back into my Laura flower, and as I said, just struggling a little bit with that one, and I've just painted the middle part of it and going into my petals, trying to make the parts of the petals that will be in a shadow and a little bit darker, but as I said, I'm just having a little bit of trouble with it. Also, I wanted to mention that I used Ultramarine with Mother Lake Red Light for the middle part of the flowers because I want that part to be a little bit more darker and to go a little bit on some violet color, so I added just a little bit of Ultramarine to make it stand out comparing to the rest of my flower and petals. Keep in mind that this is our first layer, painting the flowers and petals, and we will go back later on when this is dry to add some details to it, a little bit more shadows and highlights, well, just as we think that it's necessary for our flowers to, I guess, be more beautiful. And there is one more thing I wanted to say. All the materials I'm using for this painting are listed down in the description box, so you can see all the paints and brands I'm using, brushes that I'm using, also the masking marker I'm using. I've been asked quite a lot what is that I'm using. I know a lot of you have masking fluids, but maybe not masking markers. Well, for this detail masking, I would recommend a masking marker, but of course you can absolutely do it also with a masking fluid if you have one. And if you're not sure how the masking fluid and masking markers work, and you're maybe thinking of purchasing them, but you're not really actually sure, you're maybe afraid of using it, you never tried it, whatever, I do have a video on how to use masking fluids and masking markers, so I will link that video also down in the description box, so go and check it out. Maybe you'll find something interesting for yourself. One more video I wanted to mention is a video on colors. I've been also asked a lot what alternative colors you can use if you do not have the same colors as I do, brands or whatever. So I've also made a video on that, and I will link it also down in the description box, so you can check that video also out. Maybe it will help you when you're thinking about what colors to use when you're following a tutorial or just painting yourself using a reference photo. I think that my advices from that video could be helpful to you. So if you want to, if you're interested, go ahead and check out also those videos. Right now I'm just making the outer parts of the petals, and they are slightly darker and a little bit more different color than the inner parts of the petal. And for that one I also used the mix of Mother Lake Red Light and Ultramarine to get that purplish color, and to make a distinction between the lower part of the petal and upper part of the petal. And I'm just going right now back and forth adding those details as I've mentioned earlier, just making the edges of my petals and smudging it a bit. I will do also later on, because as the watercolors dry, they do become lighter, and sometimes you just well, just when the paint is completely dry, you can see if there is more details needed or a little bit more pigment in some parts. So that is the reason why I'm also going back and forward and adding some more pigment here and there, and as the petals and the flowers dry. Also, I'm going between the little bit smaller and a little bit bigger round brushes, and well, the size of the brush also depends of the size of your painting. Mine is 18 by 24 centimeters or 7 by 9.5 inches, and so I actually used a large round brush, number 12, for the background, and for the petals I'm using a smaller round brush, and this one is, I think, number 6, because you know, I do want those flowers to be detailed and I don't want a lot of water in my brush, so the larger the brush is also holds a lot more water, and it would be quite difficult to do this detail work as I really want in my flowers. So I am using a smaller round brush, and right now I'm painting the buds of the flowers, and I'm also doing almost the same thing as I did painting the flowers. I'm just the upper part I'm painting slightly lighter, and the parts that is a little bit more to the root of my bud, I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but you know, let's say it is, I'm painting a little bit darker. If you do have one larger round brush that has a nice pointy tip and doesn't hold too much water, you can absolutely do all this work and all those details with that brush. As your paper is larger, if your paper is larger and you're painting in a larger scale, of course you will be using a little bit larger brushes, and if your painting is smaller, my advice to you is to use, of course, smaller brushes. For painting stamens, I will be using a detail brush. Well, usually I would use a script brush for that, but you can also use a detail brush, or if again you have that round brush with a quite pointy tip that you can make thin lines with, you can use that brush. So I'm just making stamens and I'm trying to follow the petals, and I'm trying to make them just go in her upper part, not all around, because I think that just looks better. And as I said, I'm trying to follow the petals and how they are positioned, so that is how I'm also making those stamens. And the tops of them I'm painting in with the raw sienna. And yes, I forgot to say that stamens I painted with Mother Lake Red Light, and I also later on added a little bit of ultramarine in it. And the tops painted in raw sienna, and right now I'm just adding a little bit more of that sepia to make it look like some parts are in shadow and darker. For the buds, I mix in a little bit of sepia in Mother Lake Red Light. And right now I'm using only sepia. One more thing that I wanted to say that is not actually related to this painting, but I really do have the need to say it. I really wanted to thank you all for all the support you're giving me, and you know, I'm secretly calling you my support team. And well, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate every single comment of yours, every single like of yours, every single view of yours, and I just feel like you are here with me when I'm making those videos, and I feel like there is a community out there that exists, unbelievable, but it does, that actually, you know, works with me. And every single comment of yours that you give me is a blessing for me, and well, makes me want to keep going and doing this. I do love this, but there's just, you know, sometimes you ask yourself, is there a point to it? Why am I doing this? Is there any purpose to that? And when I see your comments and your beautiful words of support, well, that they mean a world to me, and I really wanted to, well, thank you all from the bottom of my heart for that. Oh, okay. Now I'm painting the leaf. There is just one leaf in the entire painting, and that one I'm painting in with green that I've added to the mix of sepia and raw sienna, and the lower part of the leaf I'm painting in sepia. And for the branch, I am using again sepia, and I will also be using some burnt sienna. And for the highlights on that branch, I will do a couple of layers on my branch because, you know, as the paint dries, it becomes lighter. You probably already know that. So I'm adding a little bit more because I did want that branch to be darker, as you can see in a finished painting. So I was just adding a little bit more burnt sienna on the top and a little bit more of sepia on the bottom. And after finishing details on my cherry branch blossom, I decided to do a couple of more splatters in that mix of Mother Lake Red Light and Sepia, and that is something you will see later on. That will be the final detail to my painting, and with that I'll be finishing it. And of course this video, again, thank you guys a lot for watching, for all your support, and if you do like this video, please hit the like button, comment, share it, and if you haven't still, please subscribe to my channel. That would also mean a lot to me. And well, without further ado, I hope you had fun, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye!